Well, hello there and welcome. You are listening to the Kindness Matters podcast, and I am your host, Mike Rathbun. What is this podcast all about? It's about kindness. It's a pushback against everything negative that we see in the news and on social media today, and it's a way to highlight people, organizations that are simply striving to make their little corner of the world a little better place. If you want to join in on the conversation, feel free. Go ahead and follow us on all of your social media feeds. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're even on LinkedIn under Mike Rathbun. Check us out. And in the meantime, so sit back, relax, enjoy, and we'll get into the Kindness Matters podcast. Hey, welcome everybody to the show. Thank you so much for taking 30 minutes of your time today to join us. I have an amazing guest for you today. As a reminder, if you see anything or hear anything on this podcast that you find inspiring or motivational or uplifting, please make sure to share it with your friends and family, coworkers, complete strangers on the street, whoever. It would mean the world to me to have you share that with them. Important note here, we want to inform you that this episode of the Kindness Matters podcast will discuss sensitive topics, including self-harm, mental health issues, and possibly suicide. These subjects may be triggering for some individuals. Please take care of your emotional well-being and consider whether you are in a safe space to listen to this content. If you find these topics distressing, you may wish to skip this episode or listen with a trusted friend or a mental health professional. Your mental health is important to us. We encourage you to seek support if you need it. Thank you for your understanding. My guest today is Kelsie Shriver, an incredibly talented artist, and the owner of Luminary Tattoo. She's just opened her own tattoo shop in Lincoln, Nebraska. And welcome to the show, Kelsie. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
You're just such a blast to talk to.
So are you.
Oh, thank you. And the reason, well, first of all, let's talk about tattoo, because that's a nice, calming, non-heavy subject, right? Because, and I say you're an artist, because tattoo is artistry, right? You're just, instead of working with paints and canvases, you're working with ink and a different kind of canvas, a body.
Yes. We all go into it with some form of artistic background. I was a portrait artist for years before I started tattooing, just kind of as like a little side hustle outside of like full-time jobs, and then got way more serious around the time that I started approaching my mentor for an apprenticeship.
Ah.
So all of us have some sort of like art background.
Okay. And we all have mentors at some point or another, right?
In theory, there are some people that do get into it, like self-taught, just kind of picking things up like out of their house. But a lot of us did go through like a formal apprenticeship under a mentor.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't think I could find a YouTube video about tattooing and do any kind of good work.
It takes a long time to really start to get it down. I mean, I've been doing it 8 years, and there are artists that I look at their stuff and I'm like, oh, am I ever going to like hit that level? Because that is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So you started about 8 years ago as an intern. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is?
Go ahead. Sorry, go on.
Nope, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I started getting tattooed by Cody Schneider that owns Scarlet Raven Tattoo, also in Lincoln, Nebraska, pretty close by where I just opened Luminary. I got my first tattoo from him when I was 17. My mom signed off for it, and over the course of the next, like, 6 years, I just would bring my art portfolio to him, get his advice and his feedback, try to learn from it, and then eventually in 2017, I think that was June of 2017, started pre-apprenticing, which was kind of just going into the shop, answering phones, cleaning, watching how he would set up for tattoos, watching him do tattoos, and then we made it official about a month later.
Nice. I was gonna say, what is an intern tattoo? What does that look like? You're basically learning everything about the shop, right? And the
Yes.
art.
Yeah, so my apprenticeship, which I think, from what I understand, everybody's is a little bit different. Uh, Mine was, yeah, helping set up, talking to clients that would come in, um, the cleaning, taking trash out, all that kind of stuff. But then also he gave me like a stack of reading materials to kind of go through. And for as poorly as I did in high school, just because I was one of those kids that was like, man, I don't care about anything that I have to learn right now. If I
Same.
care, I am such an overachiever about it. And I still have my little composition book where I like have diagrams of tattoo machines with notes on like how to take them apart, put them back together, all of the bloodborne pathogens information for like the testing and study course for that,
Oh wow.
first aid, and still have that. And I think I've got it in the shop right now as a resource for the apprentice that I have.
And now
Um,
you have your own apprentice.
yes,
It's come full circle.
it has.
That's so
But yeah,
fun.
then eventually kind of got into tattooing on like practice skins under guidance of my mentor, and graduated to real people after getting all of my like state and county licensing figured out, and just kind of
Sure.
had people that I knew for a while be like human guinea pigs to see how it went on real skin.
Okay, because you said something there, and I immediately froze and I stopped listening. Practice skins?
Yeah, they're like this weird rubbery kind of material, and they just come in like flat pieces. They also have things called, the brand is Pound of Flesh, and they're like synthetic body parts, which that's really interesting. I had clear drawers in my room at Scarlet Raven and just a forearm wrapped in plastic that was for practicing tattooing, and I was like, I probably look like a serial killer right now.
Yeah, like, did people call you Dexter or?
Thankfully not.
Oh, good,
They
good.
just would look at it and be like, what is that? Why do you have an arm in a plastic drawer?
And now I'm just like wondering if years and years and years ago, before they had practice skins, did they like go down to the morgue and ask to use a corpse? I don't know.
So you actually, fruits, a lot of fruits that have skins like oranges, bananas, melons, and things like that, you can practice on those. And I have not, but from what I've heard, it's pretty comparable. There also are people that have gone to like butchers and asked for pig skin,
Fair
because
enough.
that's
Yeah,
also similar from what I've heard.
yeah. Yep. That seems much more reasonable.
Yep, we are
Uh,
not going into the morgue.
it might be an option. I don't know. Um, so and the reason I'm talking to you today is because I saw a post that you had on Facebook, not Facebook, TikTok, I believe it was,
Yes.
and it had a lot to deal with mental health. And coincidentally, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So it was, let me see if I can pull a big word out of my, fortuitous that I should see your TikTok, um, because we're talking about, you do something for people who have self-harm. And
Yes.
when we talk about self-harm, um, I don't know, is this fairly recent? I mean, like within the last 50 years that people have started doing this?
I honestly don't know. I know that it's been around, like, it's been a thing that people have used as a maladaptive coping mechanism for longer than I've been alive.
Okay.
I've covered scars for people that are older than I am. Like, the scars are older than I am.
Yeah.
Um, and more obviously faded in those cases and a little easier to cover up. But I do feel like specifically in the last maybe 20 years, it kind of became a more common thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, because and self-harm comes from anxiety, depression. What are some of the... Hello, kitty.
Sorry, that's probably Dutch. He likes to yell.
Uh, so, and you said something. You said maladaptive, and I was looking up the causes of self harm. Um, and one of the definitions I got was it's a usually the result of an inability to cope in healthy ways with stress and emotional pain. Does
Yeah.
that ring true for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then there was two actually, and the other one said having a hard time controlling, expressing, or understanding emotions may lead to self injury. The mix of emotions that trigger self injury is complex. For example, there may be feelings of worthlessness, loneliness, panic, anger, guilt, rejection, self hatred, being bullied, or having questions about your sexual identity may all be part of that mix of emotions.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting because oftentimes when people will self harm, and we'll get into what that looks like in a second, but they'll see those scars and then that will make them feel regret or
Yeah.
ashamed, which may trigger another self harm episode. Is that right?
Yeah, and then, I mean, you walk around out in public with them visibly on display, and occasionally people will ask about it, or you'll, like, specifically, what I've seen a lot of is, like, a lot of young kids that just don't understand, that will acknowledge it. Um, I had one of my
Oh,
emails, actually, there was an individual that was talking about having scars acknowledged by a small kid and being like, yeah, I want to fight with a tiger.
oh,
Um, but yeah, having to, like, either deflect or acknowledge that publicly as well to, like, strangers or people that you know,
yeah,
and then having to, like, walk back through that is something that also can be triggering for a lot of people.
yeah. So it's like a self perpetuating kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
and the types of self harm, I know. I think a fairly common one is cutting, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what is? Do you know what that looks like? I mean, you're familiar with it? Did you engage in that?
That was the form that I used when I was younger, but no other people as well that either, like, did that in conjunction with or independently would burn or hit or things like that as well.
Now, is this something like hitting a wall? When we say hit,
Like hitting themselves.
oh,
I have encountered a handful of people that like that was kind of their form of it, which I feel like leaves a more obvious visibility in the moment, but tends to have less of the long-term visibility in the way that like cutting or burning does.
right. But now, and a lot of times, not a lot of times, sometimes self harm can be a way of signaling that you are trying to reach out for help, can it not?
Oh, it absolutely can. Kind of that like silent cry for help.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and I was wondering why. Why? What does the act of burning yourself or cutting? What does that? Does it bring a relief? Does it bring a what?
In the days where that was a coping mechanism that I was using, it was a lot of like what I am feeling emotionally is so overwhelming and unbearable that like this is a feeling that isn't emotional that's going to distract me from that. um and
Okay,
yeah, did kind of have like a little bit of a sense of relief in just even if it was for like a couple minutes not thinking about what else was going on,
right.
like almost kind of a, and this is a maybe a poor comparison to make, but I had seen something on, I think it was Facebook a few days ago, talking about like kind of the grounding in like getting tattooed and
Okay,
how it's something that's like a physical thing that like brings you back to your body almost,
interesting.
but in like, again, the most, in the sense of self-harm, like the worst way that you can
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. And I saw one again with why people do it, and somebody said to feel something, anything, even if it's physical pain, when they're feeling emotionally empty.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't imagine. I mean, I just I struggle with that. The feeling. I have never. I don't think I've ever engaged in self harm. I've known people who never admitted it to me, but I know that they did.
Yeah. That's, I've
Uh,
found that a lot of people don't really like to talk about it, and it's something that they just kind of bury down and hope that other people don't bring up, which again, having like those visible scars makes it
yeah,
something that gets brought up, which is why I decided to kind of reach out and offer the scar cover ups in that TikTok video.
yeah, that is so cool. And I wasn't quite ready to go there yet, but you did,
Oh,
so let's
sorry.
talk about it. No, 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 no. You're fine. Because really, you know what it's like to walk around literally with those scars.
Yes.
And the fact that you're offering this service is kind. I mean, I mean, you charge for it, but it's a lot less than a regular tattoo would cost.
Yes. I am offering them for a $50 flat rate once a month. Um, typically, so hypothetically, if it's a 4 hour tattoo, my in shop rate is $150 an hour.
Okay.
Um, so that's like a $600 tattoo for $50
Wow.
to make that more affordable. And the 50 is really just kind of covering my supplies and
Right.
everything that I'm going to use. Although, something that I thought was super awesome and was not anticipating when I made that video is the number of people that reached out and asked if they could donate and pay that $50 cover for it. And it was a couple days after I had uploaded the video, my neighbor, Dan, who is just a fantastic person,
Clearly.
we had talked in, I think, March about doing like $40 a month for lawn care stuff at my house.
Oh, nice.
And he approached me a couple days after I had uploaded the video, told me that he watched it and that he had everything covered all summer long, not to worry about it, and just to take that and apply it to those scar cover tattoos.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, all summer, pretty much, those are just on my neighbor Dan for free.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan is awesome.
That's so cool. And I mean, okay, because back to cutting for a second.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize. Typically, the place you do that is like an arm. Is that correct?
It
Arm,
varies for a lot of
thighs.
people.
I think thighs
Yeah, I
sometimes.
see it a lot on, like, the arms and the thighs, but I've also seen it on torsos, like, really everywhere, calves.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so, and I guess maybe I'm struggling to figure out how big of an area we're talking about here. And obviously, it depends on how long they were cutting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what helped you? What helped you to stop cutting?
Honestly, I got into therapy pretty intensely back in, I think that was 2019, if I remember right. That helped a lot, but so did just, in my case, I was like, I don't want that high visibility, and I don't want people to, like, look at me, see this, and make assumptions based on what they're seeing.
Yeah, because they will, right? I mean,
Oh,
we
absolutely.
that's how we are, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that person's XYZ.
Yeah, it's something that, like, I feel like leads to a lot of judgment from others, which then kind of perpetuates the cycle of, like, self-hatred and things
Then you
like
go
that.
back into the shame and the regrets and the
Yes. Yeah, it
yeah,
kind of leads to this vicious, vicious cycle.
yeah, for sure. Um, Now, and I mean, we've all had our dealings with the medical care in this country before, um,
Yes.
and maybe somebody doesn't have access to mental health treatment. Um, what would you say to somebody that you knew was cutting? Is there what can you do just on a personal level?
I think on a personal level, really just letting people know that, like, you're there and you care about them and, like, you want good things for them, like they've got a support system, um, and that the world is a better place with them in it.
Yes, don't give up.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, but you didn't really stop um, at cutting cover-ups because you've also done work with mastectomy scars.
Yes.
Talk about
Yep.
that.
I go, which I've taken a little bit of a break from it this year since I've been opening the shop, but I have worked with Cody Schneider at Scarlet Raven at Bryan West Hospital, doing 3D effect nipple tattoos for breast cancer patients that have had to have full mastectomies and are kind of at the end of their cancer treatment journey. It's sort of the last step in, like, image recovery.
Okay.
Um, so usually everybody is just having a great time on those days because our patients are like, woohoo, we're done. This is the last thing.
Yeah. Wait, did you say soul mastectomies? Maybe
Um,
not. Maybe not.
I
I might
don't
have
think
misheard.
so. I may have misspoken something and said
That's fine.
something that sounded like that.
Okay.
Oh, I
Yeah,
might have said
because
full mastectomy.
full.
Yes. Sorry, I had to
That's
retrace
exactly
my
what it was.
steps.
Yeah, and so we're talking both breasts. And
Yes.
now, this is just for people who've had reconstructive surgery, right?
Yes, that is the majority of patients that we see and work with. And it kind
Okay,
of, from what I understand, because we just show up in tattoo, but it's covered by their insurance and everything.
that's so cool.
Um, it is. We, at the beginning, and I think something in the insurance industries like changed in what they would cover for people undergoing like top surgeries for gender reassignment and things like that. But we
Yeah.
used to get some of those cases as well where individuals opted to just have everything, including the nipple, removed, or they would replace it and we would repigment around it.
Okay. I
So I
was
haven't
gonna.
gone. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
no. Keep going. I interrupted you.
I haven't gotten to do as many of those cases at the hospital anymore since the insurance issues have become a thing, but I have still taken a few of those at the shop as well.
Yeah, because I was going to ask about. I've seen some amazing artwork for people who've had the full mastectomy, but not the reconstruction, or as you mentioned, gender reassignment surgery, where they've had mastectomy. And I mean, if you're going one way, you don't really want to do a reconstruction. But yeah, that's and I was going to ask if you had done any of that type of work as well, because it's just the chest, right?
Yes. I haven't gotten to do one of like the full chest scar covers yet for
Yeah.
those. I have done a lot of scar covers that are more like kind of in that vein for like breast reduction, implants, other surgical scars, even some like people that have gone through surgeries for skin cancer and things like that where they've got big scars left behind.
Never even thought of that one. Melanomas or what have
Yep.
you. Wow. And it's just such an opportunity to create something beautiful where once there was something, I don't want to say ugly because I mean that's part of who they were, but you know, where once there was a reminder, and maybe not a very happy reminder.
Yeah. I feel like the scar cover work in general just kind of gives people an option to like rewrite their story. And instead of people looking at that part of their body and being like, oh, what happened there?
Yeah.
You get to be like, oh, what a pretty tattoo.
Yeah. Is that the south of France? A unicorn.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Nice. Well, and we want to, both Kelsie and I would like to remind you that if you are feeling like harming yourself, or if you're feeling destitute or like there are no other options, please make sure to reach out and call 988. That's the new suicide prevention hotline, I think.
Yes, and I believe they have a text line
Oh,
with that same number, if I remember right. I have cards at the shop that have the text line on it as well for people that hate talking on the phone.
okay. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm on the 988 website and I wanted to look and see if I could find the text line. And there's a link here that says text, and I started to click it, and it's like, okay, what do you need? Are you feeling helpless? But yes, 988 for sure if you're feeling in that kind of place. Um, it was so awesome to talk to you today, Kelsie. I really, really, really appreciate your time and what you're doing for people who need it.
Yes, I appreciate you having me on and trying to help me like spread that reach to people.
So many people need the services that you're providing, and I mean, it's sad that they need that, or that there are that many people that need it. But thankfully, there are people. If you're in the Lincoln, Nebraska area, Omaha, Grand Island, Worms, Nebraska, I had to throw that one in. You know what? It's not that far. Go see Kelsie, and she can get you hooked up. I will have links to your website and all of your social media on the show notes. And I hope you have a fantastic week.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great week too.
I will. Take care, Kelsie. We'll talk again soon. I want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode with my guest, Kelsie Schreiber. Please make sure to check out the show notes where you'll find additional information on her offer to cover up self-harm scars. I hope you're able to take something positive from the time that you spent with us. Maybe you'll be inspired. Maybe you'll be motivated. Maybe you'll be moved. If you experienced any of those positive feelings, please consider sharing this podcast with your friends and family. I'm always striving to offer you a better podcast, so give me some feedback. Let me know how you think I'm doing. Email me. Leave me a message on the socials. It would mean the world. We'd also be honored if you would follow us on our social media accounts like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. This podcast is part of the Mayday Media Network. If you have an idea for a podcast and need some production assistance, or have a podcast already and are looking for a supportive network to join, check out MaydayMediaNetwork.com and check out the many different shows like Afrocentric, Spoil My Movie, Generation Mixtape, In a Pickle Radio Show, Wake Up and Dream with D. Anthony Palin, Stacks O'Packs, and The Time Pals. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode, and we would be honored if you would join us. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. Have a fantastic week.